too many of them like before. So farmers are left to the hands of individuals, the private sector, and it depends on how much they charge on those things. Thank you very much, the Executive Secretary, Prince Paul Ikonne.
Thank you so very much.
And discussion with the blue-blooded.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Shuaibu Adamu, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We hope when you come next time, you oblige us so that we have a continuation of this discussion, because the crux of the matter, how do we cross the Rubicon in order to bring farmers along, you know, to know that the government is giving them the inputs and they are supplying the government what the government and the people need. Thank you for watching. There has been moment for thought for this week, talking about Nigeria's agricultural development stride, and talking about the inputs of so many agencies with particular emphasis on NALDA. And NALDA is back, just that the name sounds. We hope it's going to be as giant as it was. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The center is purposely established in order to provide these services that are examinations, medical examinations and investigations that were not provided for in Kano as well as the entire Northwest region. It's equipped with modern technological equipment in terms of radiological services. We have MRI 1.5 Tesla. We have digital X-ray as well as 4D ultrasound equipment. The importance of the center cannot be overemphasized. Just within 1 year, the center attended to thousands and numerous patients as well as medical examinations. NKDC is established in order also to provide these healthcare facilities as a discounted price.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The NOA, for example, has succeeded a great deal in sensitization during the pandemic, and we have found the community mobilization officers most effective in the sensitization and in the advocacy campaigns, creating awareness on
National Agency for the Control of AIDS presents 2021 Mode of HIV Transmission Report.
Where the shoes are pinching are now the younger generations.
Federal government clears the air on deployment of digital technology in protecting oil and gas facilities.
Messages of peace and national development rekindle as Muslims mark beginning of new Islamic year 1443 after Hijrah.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss implementation of National Livestock Transformation Plan.
Now, the much-awaited National Livestock Transformation Plan initiated by the Buhari administration has been launched at Awe in Nasarawa State.
And the plan, Jumai, which is a holistic scheme, seeks to, among other things, gradual development of the livestock subsector in the country for economic prosperity.
And apart from ensuring economic empowerment of Nigerians through investment in agriculture, it also seeks to address the long-existing competition for scarce resources, which most times results in violent conflicts between herders and farmers.
And the other objectives of the plan include engaging youth and women for improved productivity through skills acquisition, value addition to livestock, create pilot ranching models in grazing reserves, modern management of cattle, water harvesting and preservation, climate-smart agriculture, soil management, and green energy use.
Indeed, and the plan, which has 6 pillars, seeks to create pilot ranching models in grazing reserves like the one established in Awe.
And the 6 pillars of the program include conflict resolution, justice and peace, humanitarian relief and early recovery, cross-cutting issues and human capital development, and economic development.
Now, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, the chief executive of the pilot state at the luncheon, said the desire to maximally utilize the hitherto abandoned grazing reserves, which have become the hiding place for criminal elements, motivated the state to adopt the scheme.
And after Nasarawa, which state is next among the pilot states? And how many states are interested in keying into the scheme at present? What should Nigerians expect from the scheme? And how would you facilitate the federal government's diversification agenda aside from addressing the incessant farmers-herders conflicts? These are some of the issues we intend to tackle as we discuss the implementation of the National Livestock Transformation Plan on today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. I am Yusuf Nadabu. Thank you for joining us.
Indeed, Yusuf Nadabu, some pertinent questions there which will be addressed by our guest. I am Juma Yusuf, welcoming you to the program. We are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, and as usual, we bring you our complimentary segments. But first, let's take the highlights of the morning news with our colleague Tessie Omere. Good morning, Tessie.
Hello, Juma and Nadabu. Good morning. And here is the morning news. The 2021 Mode of Transmission report presented by the National Agency for the Control of AIDS identifies 4 new population groups responsible for the transmission of about 91% of new HIV infections in Nigeria. Director General of the agency, Dr. Gambo Aliu, said the new report is an update in achieving the 95-95-95 target of eliminating HIV in 2030.
Are now the younger generations, even among the key population and among the sex workers, this younger age group that are never married and that are not given to prevention.
Still talking health, 176,000 doses of Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine to arrive Nigeria by Wednesday as the country sets to begin second phase of vaccination program on August 16th. This was revealed at the bi-weekly ministerial briefing on COVID-19 update in Abuja.
It takes about 15 working days, to approve a vaccine, and it is round-the-clock type of vetting to ensure that we have taken note of all the peculiarities.
The final parts of the preparations for the rollout is around making sure that every single pack has the right labeling, the right tracking, the right barcodes that will ensure that no matter where these vaccines are, we can actually know where we deployed those vaccines to. And we are confident that with the collaboration that exists across the ministry.
And Nigeria has continued to record more cases of COVID-19 with 422 new infections in 8 states and the FCT in the last 24 hours. In the latest statistics released by the NCDC, Lagos is still topping the list with 190 new cases. Then Rivers State with 86, Ogun followed with 85, Oyo has 22, FCT recorded 20, Kwara has 7, Edo 5, Abia 4, while Bayelsa State has 3 new cases. With this development, Nigeria has 178,508 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 165,982 were treated and discharged, while 2,192 patients died of the virus. The deployment of digital technology in protecting oil and gas facilities is a dependable option in the face of current security challenges. This was highlighted in a lecture delivered by the Minister for State for Petroleum Resources, Timipri Silva, at the National Defense College, Abuja.
In the area of drilling, technology is facilitating the development of more enhanced oil recovery and offering real-time data through logging while drilling.
I will therefore solicit the support of all Nigerians and our friends globally to provide enduring peace in the society.
And let's talk religion. Muslims in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, have joined their counterparts across the globe to mark the new Islamic year of 1443 after Hijrah. Some Islamic community leaders used the occasion to urge the residents of the state to shun bad acts and embrace peaceful coexistence.
Let us borrow a leaf from the Hijrah, symbolizes to unity of our country and reject anything that stores its growth.
It provides opportunity for us to review our approach to religious activities.
The new year is just telling all mothers to be at alert. Pay your duty to any little thing that you know is happening to your female children.
Meanwhile, President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, has felicitated with Muslim Ummah as they join the rest of the Islamic world in marking the commencement of the new Islamic year 1443 after Hijrah. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President of the Senate on Media and Publicity, Ola Awoni, Senator Lawan used the occasion to thank Almighty Allah for the privilege He mercifully granted Muslim Ummah to witness the new year. As the Muslims begin the new year, he advised them not to relent in living in accordance with the injunctions of the Islamic faith and in prayers for peace in Nigeria and the world over, as the National Assembly will continue to carry out legislative interventions in the interest of the nation, including the review of the 1999 Constitution as soon as it reconvenes from recess. In our politics, the All Progressives Congress Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee says the heavy security presence noticed at the party's national secretariat is nothing to worry about. National Secretary APC Caretaker Committee John James said this while speaking with newsmen on the development at the Buhari House, National Secretariat of the APC.
It is our decision to bring in police as a proactive measure based on the information security report that is in our position. So we have to be proactive about it to guarantee lives and property.
And it appears the internal crisis rocking the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party is still far from being resolved, as governors on the party's platform have been meeting in Abuja to resolve the situation.
We have to collectively continue to work together in unity, and this meeting will continue tomorrow with other stakeholders, and very soon Nigerians and indeed all of you will hear our resolution, but we are working towards resolving all the issues as a family.
And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Nadabo and Jumwe after this break.
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA TV College Jos invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs. Basic Directing Techniques, date 2nd August to 27th August 2021, 4 weeks. New Technologies, Optical Fiber, IP Technologies, Automation Storage Management and Wireless Technology, date 9th August to 13th August 2021, 1 week. Transmitter Operation and Maintenance, date 23rd August to 27th August 2021, 1 week. Advanced Broadcast Accounting and Auditing, date 30th August to 24th September 2021, 4 weeks. Emotional Intelligence for Workplace Efficiency, date 6th September to 17th September 2021, 2 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week course is 100,000 naira per participant. The fee for the 2-week course is 80,000 naira, while the course fee for the 1-week course is 60,000 naira only, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-079-5335 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
Helen Paul! Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission? Yes, but how? Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam. The regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains remover. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach.
Wow!
Mommy is ready to receive me a bundle of joy. Mommy is making my home cleaner and safer. We are Dettol, Dettol.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol. Dettol Sure.
We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Thanks for joining us. International Monetary Fund, IMF, enjoins Nigerians to take advantage of the special fund to hasten recovery as Nigeria Export Promotion Council commences Manpower Development Program. Kunle Ade has details.
The resident representative of the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to Nigeria, Ari Aisen, says Nigeria can take advantage of the $3.34 billion special drawing rights to hasten her recovery process and promote sustainable development through transparency and accountability.
We strongly recommend our member countries, and in fact we call all our partners, domestic partners, international partners, to work with us to make the most out of it. So those funds really can be used to the benefit of all countries, Nigeria and others. So we are always emphasizing the need of good governance, good use of funds, transparent with responsibility. This is a very precious injection of funds. It's good to make sure that those funds are well used to the benefit of the people and the countries.
In another development, the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, NEPC, in collaboration with the Institute of Export and International Trade London and the International Trade Center Geneva, has commenced manpower development program in international trade and trade professionals.
It's expected that the expertise, knowledge, and skills gained by the students will be used to develop innovative solutions and competitiveness in international trade by Nigerian exporting companies in traditional and emerging markets.
The AFCFTA will not only increase in traffic and trade, but also establish Africa as an emerging leader on the global trade agenda.
For the 60 students now currently on the program, it was an easy choice then to approach the NEPC of Nigeria to become the next country to participate in this program.
At the virtual inauguration of the Institute in Abuja, Geneva and London, at takeoff, the Institute is expected to train 26 staff of the Export Council on rudiments of international trade and happenings at a time Nigeria is looking to increase our trade volume in the global market. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Well, many thanks, Kule, for the business news. Up next is the newspaper review.
And next, it's newspaper review, and Bayo Teobi is here.
Good morning, Jume.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nadabo. Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you.
It's a rainy morning, as usual. We've been having too much rain, actually. Yeah. But I'm enjoying it. Let's begin with the Nation newspaper this morning. And above the masthead, we have COVID-19, rising cases in Lagos, Akwa Ibom, worrisome. COVID-19, rising cases in Lagos, Akwa Ibom, worrisome. You find details on page 2. Fraudsters forfeit 530 million naira, cars, houses to government. Fraudsters forfeit 530 million naira, cars, houses to government. Accused plead guilty. Details on page 4. Okorocha to lose 500 properties to Imo government. Court remands Chidima over Super TV CEO mother. You find details on page 5 and 6. Below the masthead of the Nation newspaper, federal government striking doctors resume talks. Federal government striking doctors resume talks, page 3. Schools remain closed in Kaduna. Schools remain closed in Kaduna. You find the details on page 8. And now the headlines for the Nation newspaper. PDP governors, elders decide Seconda's fate today. PDP governors, elders decide Seconda's fate today with a rider. 6 National Working Committee members. Chairman must go. I won't resign, he declares. 6 National Working Committee members. Chairman must go. I won't resign, he declares. And the picture story you see there is street deserted in Onitsha, Abia, Enugu, Imo, due to the sit-at-home order by IPOB, and 14 feared dead in IPOB Southeast shutdown, with a rider, Rivers Council crippled. You find details on page 5. Shake-up in NMPC. You find details on page 5. Shake-up in NMPC, details on page 5. Court voids federal government's power to collect VAT, income tax in Rivers. You find that on page 5. Cholera killed 816 in 7 months. Cholera killed 816 in 7 months. Page 4 for details. Abductors of commissioner demand 500 million naira. Abductors of commissioner demand 500 million naira. Commissioner that was Niger State commissioner that was abducted by kidnappers a few days ago. Yusuf Nadabo.
All right, thank you, Jumai. On the Punch newspaper here on the front page, you have a series of stories. Normally, Punch is always loaded. I will start from the top above the masthead. The first story at the top, right, at the top, really, very top. Shake-up in NMPC. Senior management staff redeployed. COO sacked. You get details of that on page 21. And the right under that, we have sit at home. 8 killed as IPOP's order turns bloody. Gunmen attack Anambra Police Division, kill 4 cops, cut away weapons. Details of that on page 17. The main story on the Punch newspaper is political, and that's talking about the PDP. It says, Secondus fate uncertain, PDP governors meeting deadlocked, and NWC reps divided over the issue. You have the details on page 2, but the writers are 6 NWC members insist on chairman's resignation, and I will not resign, Secondus says, and the third writer is, we will continue meeting tomorrow. Issues will be resolved as family, says Tambuwal. As we said, the details are there on page 2. On page 29, resident doctors defy federal government's no work, no pay threat and continue NAS talks today. Resident doctors defy federal government's no work, no pay threat, continue National Assembly talks today. Page 29. On page 26, APC governors await Buhari's return to decide Boni's fate. Details on page 26. Below the photo story there where Governor Tambol is addressing the press about the PDP governors meeting, we have stories as follows. And on page 4, we have court remands Chidinma for 30 days over Super TV CEO's death. On page 15, Buhari orders troops to crush Plateau criminals in 10 days. And on pages 4 and 5, 2 fraudsters for 3 Lagos duplexes, 200 million naira vehicles to federal government. The stories at the bottom are pegging 2023 presidency to region age will divide Nigeria further, says Northern Khan. Details on page 8. Still on page 8, Benue offers scholarship to 4-year-old boy kidnapped during communal clash. And finally on page 9, customs van chasing smugglers crashes 7 in Katsina and the vehicle burnt. Details of that on page 9. Bayo?
Thank you, Yusuf.
What do we have?
The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Yoma, has summoned the Indonesian ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Usra Hendra Harahap, over the humiliation of a Nigerian diplomat in Jakarta. The ambassador has confirmed that, yes, the incident happened in his country, and he has also apologized. Nigeria has also formally laid an official protest to the government of Indonesia. The immigration officer involved has also gone to the embassy in Jakarta to apologize to the ambassador and the diplomat that he humiliated. A video had revealed that 3 men had wrestled the Nigerian diplomat in the back seat of the car. The diplomat had to scream, "My neck, I can't breathe." We're having another incident of what happened in the U.S., in Jakarta.
This is one too many, and is an apology enough?
Well, this is a violation of international protocols, a violation of international law, and the Vienna Convention regarding diplomats and consular relations. And the ambassador here has apologized, and I think our High Commission is not, our Foreign Affairs Ministry is not taking it lying low. An assault on one Nigerian is an assault on all. And so we should be taken serious. But let's come to the issue of the Association of Resident Doctors.
Before you talk about that, let's look at this a little bit further and then say, one too many, you said. And of course, it's just too many, not one, so many too many. Just look back. Look at South Africa, what it did to Nigeria. Come back to Ghana, traders, South Africa. And then now it's moving up and up now from traders to where? To diplomats. Now, if diplomats could be so assaulted in a country where we think we are friends or real friends, and you think apologies there, Juma said, is that enough? It looks as if still we're taking all these things lightly, and treating with kid gloves may not really take us anywhere because it's getting too far now.
No. I saw the video and I was appalled.
Well, it's very appalling, but notwithstanding, our Foreign Affairs Minister has summoned the ambassador from Indonesia to the office. And the ambassador has apologized. Not only that, Nigeria has followed up with a protest to the Jakarta government. That tells you the level of seriousness that the federal administration takes the assault of the Nigerian diplomat.
But
apart from the fact that
has been the trend all the while. Whenever such happens, foreign ministers, foreign ambassadors have been, summoned, apologies are attended, and there it goes, and it kept on repeating. I'm talking about this because it's a thing that makes the Nigerian really feel as if he doesn't really belong so much as some other, countrymen belong in this country, because we protect, we keep, and we keep them safe.
Well, there should be reciprocity, as you have accorded, and the ambassador has accordingly. Yes, I was talking about the strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors. The House of Representatives Committee on Health held a stakeholders meeting with the leadership of the National Association of Resident Doctors, the Minister and Minister of State for Health yesterday. The meeting, which lasted for over 7 hours, is to continue today. Meanwhile, patients in hospitals across the nation have become the grass that are suffering from the foot fight of the two elephants, that is the federal authority and the doctors under the auspices of National Association of Resident Doctors. Consultants who are struggling to provide skeletal services have been overwhelmed. Nurses are trying to lend support, but many patients are now forced to withdraw their patients and take them to private hospitals. It is coming at an instance when cholera also is ravaging in the nation. There are reports that there are about 31,425 cases in 22 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. So far, we have lost about 816 lives between January and now to cholera, and our doctors are on strike. Meanwhile, in Port Harcourt, the National Association of River State University Teaching Hospital have resolved to return to work. Chairman of the River State University Teaching Hospital, George Ella, says that following a robust and fruitful engagement with the River State government and the agreement that have reached, they have reached an agreement that they don't want to continue to contribute to the suffering of Rivers people, and therefore they are returning to work and have done so since Monday. The National Association of Resident Doctors say that they engaged in the State House of Assembly to engage in accelerated hearing that will lead to legislation process for the domestication of the Medical Residencies Training Act through the River State House of Assembly. It may be recalled that the Minister of Health has said that some of the issues in contention are actually in the domain of state. The River State, it may be recalled that even when the National Association of Resident Doctors first went on strike, a branch in the River State said it was against their oath to save lives to go on strike. So, but meanwhile, there is concern because there are 31,425 persons that are suspected to have been infected by cholera, and there is need for all hands to be on that. This strike is coming at most inauspicious time because already Nigeria is on heightened alert with the Delta variant of COVID-19, for which cases are escalating. Especially concern has been drawn to two states, Akwa Ibom and Lagos, where the Delta variant is ravaging. And the danger is that the Delta variant is more devastating than the original variant. Already there are reports that there's a third variant that has occurred in Japan 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So we need to, and that is said to be even more virulent and dangerous than the Delta variant.
This is just not the time to go on strike. Let's quickly go to the editorial, and we're talking about the Happy New Hijra year, well, 1443 after Hijra. Well, you know, there was a lot of sort of confusion on the dates, but I think it was ironed out. And
well, today is first Muharram.
Today is first Muharram, yes.
And it means that it's the first day of the first Islamic calendar. The Islamic calendar has 354 days, and it began with the migration of the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, from Mecca to Medina. It started in about 622, the Christian era. Yeah. And so that calendar is now at the year 1443. It started today. So today is the first the New Year day in the Islamic calendar. In fact, in Nigeria, I think 3 or 4 states have declared today as a public holiday. And the confusion you were referring to, prior to this, the Sultan had given notice that they should look out for the month, the Christian of the signifying the Muharram month. It was not cited, and therefore the Sultan was categorical that the last month, which is Zulhijjah, will complete 30 days. We was completed yesterday, and so today is the first day of the Muharram. So the confusion has been eliminated. The difference here is that while in the Gregorian calendar we have either 365 or 366 days, in the Hijra calendar you have 354 or sometimes 355 days.
So Happy New Year to all of you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Bayo, for
coming
on Good Morning Nigeria today. As always, we appreciate you. We'll take a break. When we return, our conversation will begin.
Our country can be as great as we want.
Let us all commit ourselves to its greatness.
We must be willing to set aside our differences, unite and stay as one.
In our expansive landmass, human and material resources, and plurality lies our strength.
Let our challenges lead us to rediscover our common ground, and together, let's find solutions.
This will take some time, so it requires patience, tolerance, and forgiveness from every one of us.
Let all hands come on deck to protect and transform our country.
Let us unite and see each other not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters.
Together, we can build a better Nigeria for ourselves and for the next generations.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
There are certain moments in the day when I need my me time to just unwind and indulge.
What is this?
The Cadbury goodness is in every pack of Cadbury 3-in-1 hot chocolate, making you feel cheerful and pleasant. Enjoy the Cadbury goodness.
Mommy is ready to receive me a bundle of joy. Mommy is making my home cleaner and safer. We are Dettol Sure.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol. Dettol Sure.
We are Dettol Sure.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths. scholarships, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
You're welcome back, and to kickstart our discussion on the subject matter, let's take this background report by Ekene Ndului.
Environmental degradation and competition over land has increasingly become a source of aggravation and tensions in Nigeria, especially in the northern and central regions. Heightened tensions over land saw proliferation in conflicts, leading to wanton destruction of lives and property across communities due to herders-farmers clashes. The surge in violent conflict in 2018 was a prompter for the federal government to formulate a far-reaching set of reforms for the livestock sector. In 2019, the federal government launched a 10-year National Livestock Transformation Plan to curtail movement of cattle, boost livestock production, and quell the country's lethal herders-farmers conflict. The new plan represents Nigeria's most comprehensive strategy to encourage pastoralists to switch to ranching and other sedentary livestock production systems. This plan is hinged on several pillars, which include conflict resolution, human capital development, justice and peace, humanitarian relief, and early recovery.
If and when we're able to get so organized that the herders have a place definite, they have facilities definite that they and their livestock can live on and have business calling with them, the better for this country.
Introduce the herders and the crop farmers to modern ways of rearing cattle and growing crops, with all the attendant benefits of improved feeding, improved animal-human health, genetic improvement, crop, the aggregation of all the players in the value chain at the implementation side is also bound to improve the local economy of the communities within the vicinity of the grazing reserves.
7 states were selected as pilot states to develop ranches in public grazing reserves, namely Adamawa, Benue, Kaduna, Nasarawa, Plateau, Taraba, and Zamfara. Just last week, the federal government flagged off the program in Nasarawa State with the launch of a model ranching hub project in Awe Grazing Reserve.
By the time this project is completed, they can have all the open grazing law they have. We will not have problems again at this border by the grace of Allah.
It's a venture that is open to all people who are ready to invest and earn good income. It is also a key to resolving many of our security and environmental challenges.
How prepared are other states to key into the program? How sustainable is it over time? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be speaking to the issues in a moment.
And joining us to discuss the topic, first let me introduce here in Abuja studio Dr. Emmanuel Agbadu Akabi, Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State. It's a pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning.
Also with us is Dr. Andrew Kwasari, Coordinator of National Livestock Transformation Plan and Senior Special Assistant to the President on Agriculture. Good to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, sir.
And we also have joining us Dr. Sale Momale, Technical Advisor to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. Glad to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, now, gentlemen, let me start by congratulating Kwasari and, of course, the Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State for having come on board, having the National Livestock, Transformation Plan, launched precisely on the 4th of August in Nasarawa State. Really, this thing has been on drawing board for quite a long time. And indeed, Nigerians, when it first came up some 21 months ago, so many reactions trailed that, and a lot of other things really happened that were not so much pleasant. But of course, the federal government was dogged on that and committed, and here it is today. It's out, and so many states are keen into it. I could remember Plateau State Governor on that day at the luncheon was saying that from Awe is going to go to Plateau State. Now, Kwasari, that's a big one for you, having come all this way. What is this National Transformation Plan all about? What should Nigerians know about this further that will further convince them that it's works going on?
Thank you very much, sir. I think it is important. First and foremost, it is not a big one, and it has nothing to do with Kwasari. I think it's a big one for the country. Big one in the sense that our livestock sector really needs all the support it can get now. And what then it really means is, how can we actually go and through this process and implement this plan? It's a 10-year plan. It's a 10-year plan, and imagine...
10-year plan from when?
Actually from 2019, right, when the National Economic Council gave its approval to this plan. It should run for 10 years. And it was deliberate that it should run for 10 years, regardless of the mixed reactions you alluded to in your opening remark. Because if we do not do this right, many times Nigeria have attempted to transform various sectors, but especially the agricultural sector. So agri today is a knowledge-based sector, and therefore the absence of knowledge in the agricultural sector is the reason why we are still having all the issues we are having. So what Nigerians should expect from the National Livestock Transformation Plan is a systemic transformation that is based on knowledge, through which we can enable the sector to transform from within. And I'm careful by saying transformation from within. What the National Livestock Transformation Plan proposes is not new to this country, especially the concept of ranching. Nigerians have ranched, and many people have alluded to ranches that have been built in the northern part of this country, in the western part of this country, since independence. Why is ranching not a household methodology for livestock keeping today? That is the fundamental question that the National Livestock Transformation Plan needs to address. The basic answer is that there has not been capacity built in the core population that are responsible or that hold the asset called cattle. And I'm careful again to say that today in Nigeria, over 95% of the national herd is in the hands of the pastoral Fulani. And as long as we do not pay attention to them to enable them to build capacity to adopt the modern way, then our ranching dreams and desires will remain a dream. So government have built ranches before, private sector have built ranches in this country, but let me stick with the government attempts, whether wholly or in part. If you read, or if you ever plan to read the National Livestock Transformation Plan, especially the strategy document, you will find that the opening pages clearly reviewed all the efforts made to ranch or to transform the livestock sector in the past. Why didn't it work? It also itemized why it didn't work, because government have built ranches before and ran the ranches as government facilities. There was no deliberate integration of the pastoral community in order to transfer the know-how to them, since they hold the asset called cattle, such that they can now continue with the process of adopting this new technique. This is one of the core aims of the National Livestock Transformation Plan. How do we train, how do we teach, how do we handhold the pastoral community, since they have this vast asset, so that they can transform from within? Second is, today the livestock sector is afflicted by conflicts that are lethal. And I think I count myself privileged to have been in the room from 2016, when Chief Audu Obe, as Minister of Agri, commenced dialoguing with the pastoral community on the back of the agriculture promotion policy. By then, it was not conflict that drove his mission. His mission was, how do we implement this agricultural promotion policy and deal with the constraints identified? And for livestock sector, it was underproductivity from health perspective, from yield, from methodology. So he went to Yola, he went to Isanyi in Oyo, he went to Kaduna and all of that. And I was in the room. And the day I listened to one of our veterans, well-trained livestock experts in this country, Dr. Rabi Mani, break down before a congregation and wept, I thought something significant was wrong with our approach and the way we dealt with the livestock sector.
Okay, if I may come in, the program, according to experts, was developed by states and adapted by NEC. So, and it's all to address the farmer header crisis. You're talking about the approach. How does it intend to bring Nigerians on board and sort of, cut in the bud the crisis we have between farmers and herders?
Exactly. First and foremost, it wasn't developed by state and adopted by federal government. It was co-developed by state and federal government, because the whole process of the National Livestock Transformation Plan started from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Then the crisis commenced, especially with the escalation of the farmer-herder conflict in Benue, or the Benue Valley, but Benue State in particular. At that point, the National Economic Council now set up the farmer-herder subcommittee, farmer-herder crisis subcommittee, that then brought all the 36 governors plus FCT to sit down around the table, and it had 11 members, 10 governors and 2 ministers, 12 members, and I was their secretary, to now look at why this crisis. How it can bring Nigerians around is simply that the National Livestock Transformation Plan was consultative, so the states are well carried along, the local governments are well carried along. The publicity, because it is a bit technical, so it suffered a lot of political misinterpretation, particularly trying to get quick wins. And let me tell you, there is no quick wins. I'm speaking to Nigerians. There is no shortcut to transforming any system, more so organic systems like agriculture. So the National Livestock Transformation Plan hopes to stop this, because it's built on 6 pillars. 3 of these pillars deal with systematic methods of building cohesion between farmers and herders. Because these conflicting farmers and herders today, we must know that they've always coexisted. They've been together. They are not strangers. However, a lot of things have come into the mix. There's political issues today. There is religious issues. There are ethnic issues. These today have seized the opportunity to be the drivers, the primary drivers. But actually, the primary drivers of the conflicts from our findings during the consultation are resources: water, pasture, land, or everything that is associated with land, including keeping livestock and growing crops. So land is a factor in the productivity of all of this. Now, the plan says that there are specific pillars, 6 of them. I will mention 3. Justice and peace. How do we ensure that there is justice? How do we ensure that people are treated fairly? How do we ensure that when there is conflict, there is resolution, and the resolutions are done transparently? And the plan outlines the role of the traditional rulers, the state and non-state actors, all of them, to make sure that we leverage, because before, farmers have had conflict with pastoralists. Pastoralists destroy some crop, and then they resolved it. Today, it is taken out of context. Then you add the banditry, you add the climate change, you add all of these issues. But I think none of them is insurmountable. Nigerians have a good strategy, and we just need to rally around it. It's not going to be a kind of quick fix, but if we follow what has started in Nasarawa, and I hope we will have opportunity to explain more, the methodology of implementing this plan.
We'll really talk more about the pillars, because that is what the National Lifestyle Transformation Plan is hanging on. Dr. Salo Umale, throw more light for us on this issue. There's no doubt that, as Kwazari said, there's no doubt for sure that there have been conflicts all over the place since. Herders and farmers have been living together and have been having conflicts, and of course they have been settling them, their conflicts along the way. But the most recent ones, 2016, 17, 18, have risen to a level that became a source of concern to everybody, most likely, and perhaps hence the National Livestock Transformation Plan. Now, against this background, what would you tell Nigerians about how this very plan intends to solve this problem once and for all?
Thank you very much, and thank you for putting up this very important topic at the national limelight. I think, like Dr. Andrew Kwasari earlier explained, we are discussing one of Nigeria's critical subsectors within agriculture. Our analysis, as has repeatedly been said to Nigerians by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, is that we are talking about an asset and an economic base of over 33 billion naira worth of assets in the livestock sector, employing millions of Nigerians along the entire value chain under a low productivity system that is characterized by the ongoing conflicts, by inadequate private sector investments, and by low application of input. If this subsector is well developed, we can imagine, for example, just taking the dairy sector alone, what level of contributions it will make in terms of job creation, in terms of addressing poverty, in terms of improving nutrition within the country, and saving scarce foreign exchange. So it is against this background that you will understand the strong interest of the federal government and the commitment of many Nigerians, including a large section of private sector investments, in participating in the implementation of the National Livestock Transformation Program. Now, the program is not just envisaged just to create ranches. It is an all-inclusive program that will lead to the systematic transformation of the livestock production system and practices, as earlier mentioned by Dr. Kwasari. Now, what are we talking about? When we say transformation, it is a system of production that is basically based on traditional mechanisms or methods that have been adopted over ages and characterized by low level of productivity, by mobility, movement from one place to another, and dependent on natural resources. Now, what we want to do through the program is, first of all, to recognize that there are opportunities for improving what we are doing and how we are doing it. And these opportunities lies not only within the animals themselves, but also building the capacity of all the stakeholders across the value chain, promoting private sector investments within the sector in terms of the delivery of effective services at one end, and improving the inputs for example, pasture production, increased veterinary care, and development of micro-enterprises that will be able to capitalize on the increased productivity in terms of milk, in terms of beef, in terms of hides and skin. So you could see that it is an all-inclusive development strategy that has been put in place. And happily, like he has earlier mentioned, the process of developing this policy was quite inclusive, bringing in all the relevant stakeholders. So in essence, the program is aimed at, one, building capacities of the producers themselves to improve and change the method of their production, rather than adopting the traditional mechanisms of moving from one place to another, trying to feed on natural water sources at pasture, to more intensive production system, whereby the animal owners will be able to produce the feeds they need for their animals. They will be able to use better veterinary services. They will go into artificial insemination to improve the types of breeds that will give them higher level of beef and higher level of milk. That's at one end. At the other end is to try to promote private sector investors who will come in to provide essential services or to invest in themselves in the production of livestock through the development and establishment of ranches. And encouraging a sort of integration, or what we call backward integration, between the investors as well as the traditional producers. How can they come together, come into partnership, build capacities, and increase productivity? That is at one end. The second one is to enhance intercommunity relations, to try to see how do we bring in our community organizations, our traditional rulers, to dialogue and build consensus around access to land, access to water, and use of natural resources in a more inclusive, in a more sustainable manner, rather than the non-sustainable practices of overgrazing, bad land management practices. How do we integrate crop livestock systems that will lead to increased crops and livestock productivity and more beneficial exchanges between our farming and pastoral communities? So this is the second major pillar that we want to see. And again, there will be a lot of institutional capacity building and institutional reforms that will allow stronger private sector participation, and that will allow the participation of private veterinarians, deployment of technology in terms of extension and capacity development for smallholder producers. So this inclusively will lead to a gradual, like Dr. Kwasari said, a gradual change in the mode of production that will bring in more better livelihoods to Nigerians, more peaceful and harmonious coexistence, and improve or increase products from the livestock sector.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Momole. I'm still staying with you briefly before we come to the Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State. 10 years is a 10-year program, and initially there were like 4 states that were supposed to be part of the flag of the program. What happened? Nasarawa State is there. Do they have everything that you've outlined for the full implementation of the program in Nasarawa State?
Maybe why the mention of Nasarawa as 4 states, we have 4 pilot states where the program will immediately commence in partnership with some international development partners. I think that is where the 4 states have come in for the immediate start. But in total, we have about 22 states that have keyed into the implementation of the program. And we expect that before this year runs out, we'll be able to start running it out once the finances. We are in discussion with the federal government. We are discussing with so many other development partners to see in how many states will we be able to roll out this program. Again, it is not that as if nothing is being done. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is doing a lot of investments, particularly in the development of critical infrastructure, training, and supporting artificial insemination that will lead to a change in the quality of our productive resources, which are the animals. So a lot of initiatives are going on in many of the states. Again, the state governments are also making a lot of investments. It's not only the federal government. There are so many states are making initiatives. You have been hearing about the initiatives in Zamfara, the initiatives in Kano, the initiatives in Nasarawa, in Plateau, led by the state governments themselves. And what the federal government is doing is to provide some of this complementary support. So we expect to see that before we run out of 2021 into 2022, we'll be able to see a lot of interventions and initiatives, which are all aligned towards the achievement of the overall goal of the National Livestock Transformation Plan. But Nasarawa State is very unique in many senses. Number one, it is a state that has huge populations and one of those states that are critically challenged in terms of resource management, and a state that requires a lot of support from not only the federal government but all other stakeholders. Huge population drift into the state from all parts of the country. Proximity to the federal capital has put the state as one of the states witnessing one of the rapid inwards migration of populations. Huge resource base, a very supportive and willing government with the capacity to provide all the necessary administrative and institutional support needed, and with the capacity to recognize the challenges and bring all the citizens together to promote peaceful and harmonious coexistence. And with the challenges, particularly in Benue, the conflicts in Taraba and the recent conflicts in parts of the southeast, there is a huge migration of pastoralists from some of these areas back to Nasarawa State, putting additional pressure. So it is one of the states that we think requires a lot of support, and with the commitment of the state government and many of the relevant stakeholders, including the traditional rulers, in maintaining peace and social order, as well as putting all the necessary administrative and institutional framework for investments to work and for Nigerians to benefit from, makes it a key target state.
Okay, that's really good, Dr. Salem Umale. We've, you know, you've started delving into the deputy governor's terrain anyway, but nonetheless, bear with us. At least he has already laid the background. He has told us why Nasarawa, and then we really want to find out Nasarawa State being the pilot state, and indeed having come this far, what did you have on the ground before you become the pilot state? Because, as you said, some administrative work has to be done, some other issues have to be made, and some other efforts have to be made, really. And this is a 10-year plan. It cannot have all the facilities and the rest of them on the ground before we get started, because it's going to be work in progress. What really was it on the ground you have, or you had, that made you the first in our way?
Well, I'll ask, why not Nasarawa State?
Okay, why not Nasarawa State?
Now, going by the history, this whole thing started with the visit of Mr. President to the Netherlands sometime in 2018. And when they came back, there was this agreement between the federal government and the government of Netherlands. And coming in 2019, 2020, the whole program started. And I remember a committee, like Dr. Kwasare mentioned, was constituted in the National Economic Council, headed by, I think, the governor of Ebonyi State. He was heading that committee in the National Economic Council. And states were given opportunities to develop strategies. And I remember when we went back to Nasarawa State, we considered our steering committee in the state, which is headed by my humble self. And in the steering committee, we had a technical subcommittee, and we got in experts in the state, in the ministries of land, agriculture, water resources, education, to form the technical subcommittee to develop the strategy for us in the state. And in the steering committee, we looked at all the grazing areas or grazing reserves that we have in Nasarawa State. And thank God those grazing reserves are there preserved. So we looked into those grazing reserves and identified 7 particular grazing reserves in the state. Away is 1, Kiana another, Doma 3rd, Wamba, Karu, around Gitata area, Nasarawa, and also total local governments. Those grazing reserves were identified, the grazing reserves were marked, grazing reserves were mapped, and we went to work. And in the steering committee, we ensured that we got people from the locality as members of the steering committee. Also, the traditional rulers from those areas were members of the steering committee or their representatives. And we went to work immediately to develop, like I mentioned, the strategy. And the team came from the Netherlands because ab initio there were 3 states. Then it was increased to 4. Because the 3 states were Nassau, Plateau, and Adamawa, and then Gombe came in later. So these guys came from Netherlands and went to the 3 states and saw our level of preparedness. And it was their own verdict that of the 3 states, Nassau was on top in level of preparedness and in every sphere, in terms of consultation, in terms of education, in terms of awareness. Because when they went to these places, they saw that the people had already known about it and they were eagerly waiting for the project. And that, I think, helped us to be picked at the stage to pilot it. And not only that, we have a government and a governor who is very, very proactive, a governor who is quite enthusiastic, a governor who, as far as concerned, is in a hurry. We must develop Nasarawa State. And to develop Nasarawa State, we need to have peace. We need to have tranquility. And we came in with the herder farmers crisis. And you can remember the first thing His Excellency did when he came in as a governor was to visit his elder brother, the governor of Benue State, and extend a hand of friendship, a handshake. Look, you're my elder brother. Let us have peace between the 2 communities. Because of the anti-open grazing law in Benue, that caused most of the herders to flee to Nasarawa State. And because of that belt by the river Benue, and as the herders, I tell you, the grass there is so lush and so nutritious for the animals, for their cows, that it attracted them into Nasarawa State. And with this program coming up, we thought this is an opportunity to cash into it so that there are so many things you can benefit from it. Apart from the peaceful coexistence we're going to get, we're also going to improve the economy of the people and the economy of the states. And for any right-thinking governor, and interestingly, most of the governors that have opportunity to meet at NEC once in a while, we have a set of governors who are very, very, very enthusiastic about development in their various states, who are really eager to have peace and tranquility. So it becomes very easy for us to key into it. And with that in place, we went on to collaborate with the national coordinator, Dr. Kwasari. I'm sure sometimes I wonder if he doesn't get angry with me because I call him almost on a daily basis. What next? What do we do? What do you want? What do we, that kind of thing. And he's been very cooperative and supportive, and they've supported us to reach where we are. And for away where the thing was flagged off, we have about 30 hectares there that is reserved for the hub. And everything being equal, I see that we, on our part, will do everything possible to ensure that it becomes a huge success. Because as far as we are concerned, we are for success and nothing short of it.
Indeed, Dr. Emmanuel, you mentioned prosperity, which the program is meant to foster. But it's a 10-year program, which will be implemented through reforms. 10 years is looking at a younger generation, because the older generation are phasing out. And what are you doing to attract the attention of the younger generation into this program?
Oh, right. The program, like Kwasari will tell you, it runs through 10 years, and there are phases. And the first phase we're into now is to work on the land. And the next thing is to identify the households and begin to train households that are going to be involved in this ranching thing. And so far, they have identified about 90 or 90-something households in a way that are going to engage. One person per household, and about 30 cows to start with. And so these guys that are coming in to be trained are younger people, because they are going to be trained, and they're going to be trainers as well. They'll be trained to train others. And hopefully from the program, by 2023, we should have our first set of products from the farm. And the phases will include preparing the land, like I said, getting the pastures, and training the people on different aspects of the program. It involves not only breeding the cows, it also involves milking, dairy products, and the rest of it. So at the end of the day, we are going to get all the young ones in, and they're going to champion the program.
Thank you so much, Excellency. Dr. Kozari, let's talk more on this, and let's dig deep into it. This is a very ambitious program. Very ambitious in the sense that almost everybody in the value chain is involved. Number one, the intention is to stop, migration or movement of cattle from one side of the country to the other side. And of course, from one end to the other, and having to, make the cattle really of great value than it is at the moment. 10 years is just for a start. And he mentioned training, right? Now, people after, watching the launching will think that by the time you go to Awe today, you will see something like, an industry or a very big plot of land with Fulani and then the cattle rearers and cattle, doing their thing in the most modern way. Take us through these stages a little bit so that we can get convinced that this very plan and project is not going to be another as it used to be.
Thank you very much, sir. And this is really very organized thought process that you have put in place. So I'll just take in from where His Excellency the Deputy Governor stopped. What does it mean really to implement the National Livestock Transformation Plan? And let us speak specifically to the things done to see that Awe gets it right and then becomes like the beacon for other people to imitate. I remember very well speaking at the occasion. The leader of the Dutch consortium, there are 7 companies that are being supported by the Dutch government through the Dutch Enterprise Agency to execute these pilot farms. We know now, and that is where the work that has been going in the background that His Excellency referred to is critical. We need data. For us to get this right, we need solid data. We need data on land. So Awe today we know we've done 2 surveys back to back, one in dry season, one in wet season, to ascertain that Awe today is 22,600 plus hectares of land. So that is valid. So we know the fundamental building block land is there. Second is we need to understand the demography of the people within the grazing reserve. Today, we have done 2 surveys, and there are about 376 households in Awe. 96 of them are purely either agro-pastoralists or pastoralists. Their concern is the business of livestock rearing, and those agro-pastoralists do a bit of farming. And we also know that in total they have about 3,000 heads of cattle, but they have over 22,000 sheep and over 15,000 goats. So this data is fundamental, and collecting data systematically, it's key to success on this plan. In addition to it, we know that out of these 96 households that are either agro-pastoralists or pastoralists, the design of the National Livestock Transformation Plan is build a ranch that is also a training hub, through which the families will go and learn everything. So what Dr. Mamale was saying, what His Excellency said, everything means from health perspective, from breeding, from feeding and water, how can they do this? How can they learn how to do this? Because the only reason why they move today, forget about the attendant conflict, is in search of feed and water for their cattle. So the core of the National Livestock Transformation Plan is that enable them to go through this process. And we have set for ourselves a 12-month to 36-month period. So in the first 12 months, what we want to see is that we have identified and all the families have subscribed. 56 out of the 96 are willing to throw in a cattle. All we need in the program is we've designed a different mix of cattle by age, by sex, and what, so that they have experience with a herd, kind of what will you see in a typical herd. So we will take in 30 heads of cattle, and we hope we are praying and working hard that we move in these first 30 heads of cattle in December. So from now to December is to make sure that we establish the pasture, we fence up the ranch, we build all the necessary facilities that will make these pastoralists to bring in one cattle per household, plus an attendant who will be trained throughout to learn. And we said, keep it with the younger generation. And the parents, the heads of the household in a way say, yes, let our children be the ones that will accompany our cattle, since they are the ones that even accompany them on nomadism. So we will give one of our best plus one cattle as a commitment from my household that I want to learn this. Then, when we reviewed, we noticed that there are only 96. There are 96 households, even though there are close to 3,000 heads of cattle. So we can really take cattle from the first 30 core households and allow all the 96 to participate so that we can accelerate the transformation, because we are not going to see any transformation without practical knowledge. So while this is ongoing, the crop farmers, we are breaking away into a block extension. And thank God that Nasarawa has built in their team all the necessary technical expertise that we need in terms of extension work, pasture management, water management, land management, and everything. So we'll break it and make sure that the households of the crop farmers too are producing in the modern way. And they are also integrating pasture if they so wish, so that there is that. We are not balkanizing to say, okay, our attention is only on the pastoralists, but we are also, the National Livestock Transformation Plan says the attention should be both on the pastoralists and the crop farmers, as long as you are a resident of a grazing reserve, which is a state-owned land that government can intervene on. So based on this, sir, what you hope to see, maybe a building and people moving around and pastoralists doing their business, will come. But it will come on the back of practical knowledge. So the first thing you will see in December is that we will move in 30 heads of cattle, which is a sizable ranch for a pastoralist to manage. But some of these pastoralists hold more than 200, more than 300 heads of cattle. But we think a 30 heads with 30 owners working together will help them discuss among themselves as they are being trained, and also touch base with their households within the reserve, and create that system to emerge. I am not saying that we are copying and pasting what happened in Netherlands or Denmark, because their whole livestock system, especially dairy production, so the big names you hear, Friesland Campina, Wamco, or Ala, are all cooperatives.
It's a huge business.
It's a huge business, but cooperative. What I want you to understand is that it's not a kind of one capitalist that owns the... No. There are thousands of smallholder farmers that form what you know today in Nigeria as Friesland Campina Wamco, making pig milk for you. There is no one family or one capitalist in Netherlands that owns Wamco. There is no one capitalist or one investor that owns Ala, the makers of Dano milk and all of that. No, it's cooperative. So we want to make sure that our people relate well, and eventually this hub, this first training ranch, is going to be a school for modernization. But the beauty of it also is that it will take about a year and two, but what our milestones for December is from now, in fact, so ambitious as you said, but do you know we have a target that from now to end of August that all the pasture fields are seeded?
I was about to ask you, what's the timeline really from the launch?
So from now to end of this month, we want to seed all, and we have 14 different grasses, leguminous pasture, and tree pasture crops. We want to seed them from now to the end of this month, so that we have enough rain to establish this pasture before the end of the year. And in December, we are moving in the first 30 set of cattle and all of the families that will be trained. In addition, we are creating a buffer to utilize all the crop residue that are being cropped. If you saw the video, lots of maize, soy.
To serve as feed?
Yes, to serve as feed, to turn them into feed, to just make sure that if we move the first 30 heads of cattle to create the mini ranch in that training institute, that these cows never go out again. This is very important, so that the pastoralists who are being trained, they will say, oh, it's practical. It's not that we will, once they move in. So to make sure we support them, because fundamentally it's feed and water. So we're establishing pasture, but we're having plan B. Should the pasture fail in any way, we have buffer from the crop residue. And all these things are different value chains that we must harness, we must teach our people how to use it and use them well. So for me, I'm so excited, and Nasarawa is so prepared. So also is Kaduna, Kaduna, Adamawa, and Plateau, the next three that will come on board. But there is in the National Livestock Transformation Plan, all of this that His Excellency said are outlined. The challenge we are facing as a people is the rush, and everybody wants to quickly have it done. But there are methods in the strategy. There is an attendant guideline, 96-page guideline on how to implement it. So we have 2 volumes of documents. And there it says, you must do this, you must do that, you must do that. And actually, work is going on silently, as Momale said. In Mayo Camp today, in Mayo Camp Grazing Reserve in Taraba, we are on the 2nd phase of hydrological studies, soil studies. Same thing in Plateau and in Benue. So supported by FAO, by UNDP, we have quite a number of other bodies that are working today. We need solid data. We need solid data that will help us practically implement this plan. And that's all we ask Nigerians. Give it a chance. It will not happen overnight, and we don't need to kill ourselves over this.
Okay, Dr. Kwasari, you've outlined a lot of, ways that this program can flag off, kick off, and be fully implemented. Let me join Dr. Momole. Under the program, states are given the opportunity to determine the kind of models they will use that works for them. But my question is, are there specific models that they can choose from that can be like a guiding framework for the implementation of the program in states?
Yeah, thank you very much. Like it was earlier explained, all of these processes of discussing and coming up with all of these programs and documents were highly participatory. And it's open to many options. It's not that like there is one fixed solution. There are multiple solutions to every problem, and there are multiple strategies. And within the framework, like we said, it's a very big framework that creates opportunities for a wide range of stakeholders to come in. If you take, for example, the traditional livestock producers, like the pastoralists, we have different categories. For example, like he mentioned, there are agro-pastoralists who are already settled. They already own some lands on their own. They are carrying out a lot of farming activities. They have, they cultivate a lot of crops, and they have a lot of crop residue. And many of these crop residues are wasted, or they are inadequately utilized as animal feeds. So within the framework, there is provision for us to build capacities on how to more effectively use crop residues, for example, in feeding animals. And this will be a huge economy, not only for the agro-pastoralists, but also for many of our farming populations. So it's also another very important strategy. So the states have a very wide latitude. And again, there is variation between, in terms of the agroecological conditions of every state. There are states in the further north which are much more drier. For example, when you compare to states like Nasarawa. Again, if you take some models, for example, that work in the subhumid region, and then you say you will replicate them for possibly in the Sahelian parts of the country, they may not effectively work as they may work in other parts of the country due to variations in the ecology and the environmental conditions. So there are a wide range of models, there are a wide range of approaches, and there is huge literature and huge experiences globally for which the program will continue to tap. And it is not like it's just one fixed sort of a thing, just like say, okay, this is the design of a house and we are going to replicate it everywhere. It is a very flexible system with guidelines and strategies that can be adopted in terms of, for example, methodologies for data generation, methodologies for extension, but to say that, okay, this is how this ranch will look like and everywhere the ranch will be the same, no. There is variations in animal breeds. For example, you can produce, you can raise livestock either for dairy or you can raise them for beef. So the model, for example, there's somebody who wants to raise livestock for beef and somebody who wants to raise livestock for dairy will be a bit different. But the fundamental guiding principles are similar. So state governments, we are reassuring them that these strategies are very flexible, they are very open, and they respond to the needs of communities, they respond to particular challenges we have with the environment in terms of land uses and other things related to that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saleh Momale. We will really want to hear from the Deputy Governor, the model Nasarawa State is taking, and then the timeline set aside in order to achieve this model as earlier being talked about by Kosari. But we will do that right after the break. We'll now take a break. It's Good Morning Nigeria. We're discussing the National Livestock Transformation Plan this morning. Why not join us after the break for more on the discussion?
A new edition of TV Guide is out exclusively with Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State.
Since assuming office, our rescue administration has pursued the path of peace and reconciliation and restored confidence among people of different ethnic, religious, and political persuasions. Peace is back on the plateau. We are building world-class infrastructure in roads and opening up opportunities for innovation.
The edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from entertainment, economy, sports, media, politics, family, and lots more. Pick up a copy and keep abreast with issues and trending features within our space. TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
The Sports Parliament, your weekly sports program, is back to the studio every Thursday, 10:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. live on Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest television network. Watch out for the parliamentarians with renewed vigor and zest. Mr. Speaker with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. Sports Parliament, a must-watch. Sports Parliament, the home of sports verdict. The highs have it.
Well, it's our pleasure you're still there. Dr. Emmanuel Akabe, let's hear more from you about this very plan in Nasarawa State. Before we went on break, we talked about how we'll be able to see the kind of model you have in place, since there is no fixed one for that matter, at least the one you chose to. And indeed, the private partnership, private-public partnership you have with the Dutch people and how that is working. I'm asking this question against the background of the fact that as a state, you are just supposed to be, be funding this program on maybe 20% basis, while the federal government does the 80%. Then why does the private partners come in? And how do they come in? What do they come in with?
Well, thank you. This whole program started, like I mentioned earlier, about early 2020, 2019, 2020. And because a program that we're determined to make sure that it succeeds, we needed to get the buy-in by the people, the ownership by the people, and getting the people to be involved, all-inclusive thing. And so while we set up the steering committee at the state level, we also set up committees at the local government level. Mm-hmm. So the committees at the local government level engages the stakeholders, all those involved. And from them, we get the idea of what they want. So it's not like a push thing, but a pull thing. So I don't sit at the center and decide and push to them. No, you decide what you think is best for us, because this is what we want to achieve, and bring up those ideas. And so the ideas really came from them at the local government level. So, and that is why when Dr. Kwasi was talking about when the Dutch guys went to the Away and the rest of it, they saw that the people are excited. They only know about it because it is their own idea. It is coming from them. They're ready to own it. They're ready to see it through. So from that, we gathered all the information and at the center, put everything together, and liaising with the national coordinator, we agreed on the steps to take, which is what we were doing. And that was probably, we were seen to be probably a little bit ahead of others, because we started early, the commitment was there, the support was there from the government, support was there from the traditional institution, support was there from everybody that was involved. And coming up at the state level, the engagement with the consultants was between the national body and the Dutch consortium. It's not between the state and the Dutch consortium, between the national coordinator or the national office with the Dutch consortium. But the Dutch consortium are basically to give mainly technical support, because we are still going to own the program, we are still going to drive it. They are there to give us all the technical support and tell us the do's and the don'ts. Because at the end of the day, this is what the results should be. These are the goals. And so they are to give us the technical support like I mentioned. Now, on our own part as well, we decided that we as a state, as a pilot state, we must make sure that we put everything in place, because all eyes are on us from within the country and from without. I must make sure that it works and it succeeds. And that is why His Excellency insisted that I chair the steering committee. And I think the steering committees are chaired by deputy governors all over the country. And so it's not exceptional to Nasarawa State. But we make sure that we meet on a regular basis. As the chairman of the steering committee, I make sure that my steering committee meets on a monthly basis. We must analyze everything we're doing and what are the next steps. And we must relate also with the national body to make sure that we are moving in the right steps, in the right direction. This is what we've been doing. And you see, it's also important that we adopt this ranching methodology. Like Dr. Kwasari said, the issue is about land. The land is not increasing. Population is increasing. Urbanization is increasing. So the land space available for the herders is reducing. And therefore you have this conflict between the herders and the farmers. And Nasarawa State, about 90% of the rural inhabitants of Nasarawa State are farmers. if we don't do anything proactively to protect that, we'll be running into a big problem. Probably, again, that is why we redoubled our efforts to ensure that this thing is made possible and works for us in Nasarawa State. Because we have a responsibility to the people. Because we must have a state that is peaceful. We must have a state that is economically viable. And for any state to move out of poverty, one thing you must look at critically is agriculture. We have that advantage of the land, of the soil, and everything that it takes. There's no crop that does not grow in Nasarawa State. So we must take advantage of that and leverage into this process or this plan. And like I mentioned, as a state, we're going to give every support that is needed to make sure this thing succeeds.
Kwazari said, just a minute, Jumai. Kwazari said, of course, the farmers, the owners of this project, who are the cattle rearers, the owners of the cattle and the rest of them, have a share in this. And that is, as a pilot, you know, some 30 cattle are going to be started with. Is that the only, you know, stake they have in it? Because I'm asking this question against the background of the fact that, as you said, they own it. It's their project. Is that not meager enough, or rather meager really to make them really own it, or are they going to come in with something else apart from the land the cattle will start off with?
No, this is just a pilot. And the third is talking about is for the training. To train them, to get to understand what they're supposed to do, and to see that indeed it works. If you bring so many at a time for such a pilot thing, you may not really get the best out of them. Little number of people, hands-on, so that every step is noted and taken care of. As little as even cutting the hoofs of the cattle and stuff like that, as little as that. What to feed them with, when to feed them, how much to feed them, all these are going to be taken care of. And if you have so many at a time, it will be difficult to monitor. So for monitoring and evaluation, it's better to start with a small size. Once you see it and yes, it works, others will not come in easily. And those you have trained can now train others and then train others. At the end of the day, like I said, for the program, by 2023, we should be beginning to see the result of this program in terms of productivity and the rest of it. So, like you mentioned, they have about 96 families already they've identified, and well over 3,000 heads of cattle. And we can't take all those 3,000 to the place. It's a small place, let's start it small, and then expand. Scientifically, I think that's the best way to go about it.
Okay, talking about prosperity and training and retraining, no project kicks off without challenges. What were the challenges you faced in Nasarawa State, and how can other states emulate how you overcame the challenges for the proper kickoff of the plan in Nasarawa State?
One is to get the buy-in of the people. It was tough, but God on our side, with the involvement of all those I mentioned, the traditional institutions and what have you, they're able to convince the people to say, indeed, this is a program that is worthy of taking off in Nasarawa State. Two, the issue of the land itself. And, you know, because with urbanization and the growth, there are tendencies to encroach on those reserves. But thank God they've already been gazetted, and the people around the grazing reserves were talked to, because the Away Grazing Reserve, ab initio, was more than 30 hectares, much more than 30 hectares. But of course, encroachments here and there, we were able to preserve now the 30 hectares that we're going to use. So those are some of the challenges we encountered. But basically, I must say that we receive full cooperation of the people and full understanding of the people. And at the launch on that day, if you watch the TV, the Mieti Allah chairman was there, and he spoke so well, and even gave the minister a big container of milk and nono and fura and the rest of it to show their commitment, their excitement for this project. And from what we're seeing, NASA will be a huge success. And in terms of the other thing you mentioned something just now.
Yes, the challenges and bringing prosperity to
prosperity. Now, you find that at the long run, the value chain addition to this is enormous. It's enormous. And one, you're going to have healthy beef coming from there. You're going to have plenty of dairy products, hides and skin, what have you. And these guys have been used to an old method of doing things. Now there are newer methods of doing the same thing with a higher yield. And I don't see why people are not keen to it. And let me also say something. This thing is not limited to Fulani. I think we must get this right.
Is it limited to only Nasarawa indigenes?
It's not limited to Fulani. Anybody who has cattle and wants to participate is welcome. Everybody. Secondly, it's a program that is national. And Nasarawa State, as cosmopolitan as it is, we welcome everybody. Nasarawa State is a mini Nigeria. You find every state indigene in Nasarawa State. We welcome everybody. So if you have your cattle and you are in Gombe or in Borno or you are in Akwa Ibom and you want to participate, why not? You are welcome, because it is there for everybody to benefit from.
Okay, Kwazari, let's look further into this program. It seems as if there is, a little misunderstanding about this whole project, in the sense of trying to get the real outcome at the end of the day. It's just a pilot who was starting off at our way, and then people are just looking at it as if it's going to be a very big project where wherever you are from, as the Deputy Governor said, you can come in and participate. There are some states in the offing at the moment waiting to be, part of this. Adamawa, Plateau, as you mentioned. And these states must have at least reached some certain stage of, preparation and then arrangement towards the launch and towards the kickoff. What would you say about, those that are coming in from outside Nigeria, for instance, because a lot of cattle, a lot of herders come into Nigeria through our borders looking for greener pasture and going down south. Now, these are not really Nigerians and Nigerian cattle, but they are really coming in order to really take advantage of our climate and environment.
Thank you very much, sir. So first of all, let me start with your the first question. It's a pilot, but people think it's a big thing. It's really a very big thing. So we need to understand, what is this concept? What is this piloting concept? What does it mean? So the model farm, or what we call in the strategy, training hub. So the 30-hectare ranch that we hope to build immediately, we start to build immediately, is only a training where the families that are being trained, today the residents of Awe hold about 3,000 heads of cattle. So the hope then is that as they graduate, having learned how to do, they adopt the modern way. That then means that from that 30-hectare training hub or ranching hub, we will train the families to adopt to their own sizes of cattle, to the head of cattle they have, to build ranches on these 22,000 hectares of land. Let us go through this carefully. Our, as His Excellency said, was about 30,000 hectares. But we've run 2 surveys today to tell us that because of encroachment and urbanization, we've lost some hectareage. But we have 22,600 plus hectares. So, and this 30-hectare farm is in the center, is strategically located at this middle, in the middle of these 22,000 hectares. So the families, once they graduate, having learned practically how to ranch, from basically how to prepare the land, how to grow pasture, how to harvest water, how to feed the animals, how to take care of the animal, how to keep the animal and milk or fatten it to slaughter, they graduate from it. So in a way, we had planned to take 3 batches of 30. But when we look at the enthusiasm of this 96 household, we say we can actually take the first 30 heads of cattle and train all the 96 families such that we can speed up the adoption. What then happens? In the strategy, it is clear in the guidelines to implement National Livestock Transformation Plan that the state government immediately then issues land ownership to the pastoralists that would like to build and adopt what they have practiced in this model hub. So the pilot is to build a training institute, a ranching training institute. Once you graduate from there, so imagine conservatively that 50% of the first 30 families go out to build 15 ranches in our grazing reserve. Or let's say 50% of the 96. So you build 40 modern farms according to your cattle holding. So maybe I'll be building that of 50 heads of cattle or 100 head of cattle and all of that. The land there is available for them with rights to settle, just as their crop counterparts who are there today, who were clustering and training to modernize also their crop production system. So that is what makes it very big, that we are training the pastoralists and they are seeing that they can keep cattle in one place, grow the food, collect the water, and add and see productivity. Immediately they go out, they settle around away. What then happens when His Excellency orders are welcome is that because we have 22,000 hectares, about 15,000 hectares today from our current analysis is available for pastoralists to ranch. Then we will develop a master plan that says this is the carrying capacity for away. We can settle 10,000 heads of cattle. So that means what the more families can come into away, because by the end of 2022, we have the master plan that says how many ranches can be built in away, how many pasture fields could be established. So we have the master plan as part of this hub. But we want to build the first ranch. As the training is going out, we work out the master plan for the utilization of the entire land. And the state government will give, as the NLTP says, allow the pastoralists to own the land there, give them certificate of ownership so that they can settle. Because land is fundamental in livestock production just as it is in crop. Then this land, they see it as their own. They have shown good faith and proved they want to take the state government on their words. So they've contributed their cattle. They are moving into the training institute to train. When I come out, Mr. Chairman, sir, I have 96 heads of cattle. I want to build ranch. I need 30 hectares of land, 50 hectares of land. You give it to me, you come and map it, the hub will come and map it and support them with seeds for their pasture, with fencing and everything. So it's very important. On the other states, sir, where we are is that the 3 other states are closely behind Nasarawa, Adamawa, Plateau, Kaduna, Taraba, Benue, Kwara, Ondo. There are 10 states that are at different phases. And we are hoping, as Dr. Momale said, that by the end of the year, we would have launched also in these other states. But they just have to follow what the guideline says. Set up their team. In these 10 states, we have done training, first training. We have to do surveys, we have to understand everything, and the state 20% is contributed. Nasarawa have contributed more than 20%. They have 2 tractors, 2 brand new hillocks. We went there and inspected the office where the various committees, the PMO will be working, well furnished, refurbished with everything. They have world-class everything to make sure this plan. So the other states just have to follow this. There is no shortcut. Okay. So and we're there.
Okay, Dr. Kosari, thank you. Let's go to Dr. Momale. The Deputy Governor has talked about the value chain of cattle in the ranch. And with the signing of the African Free Trade Agreement, we know Nigeria, we're a consumer nation. We're looking at exporting of this produce to other African countries and beyond. How visible is that?
Thank you very much. you know, Nigeria is, when we are talking about Africa, is the largest market. So the market base, and that's why we are still net importer of many of our livestock products. So first of all is for us to strive as much as we can to satisfy our national demand. The export opportunities are very much, they are there, but the certifications and the standardization of our production system and our products must be achieved. And I think this is a huge task for many of us, particularly some of the institutions and the regulatory bodies. They need to do a lot of work to ensure that our production system have attained that level and there is adequate provisions of those certifications that will ensure that our products can go into the international market. And the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is really looking very seriously into this. And first of all, for example, you have to make sure that your livestock are registered. You have to monitor the health condition, the sanitary conditions of your milking environments, your milk preservation. All of these are very central and very important for us to enter into the international market. It's a process. I'm sure we are going to attend that, possibly not in the next 1-2 years, but hopefully if we continue to pursue the implementation of this program and to ensure that these systems of standardization are put in place, we will be able to get into the international market. But at the moment, we want to satisfy our national demand.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saleh. On a final note, Your Excellency, let's hear your views now. Finally, I'm afraid sometimes when one thinks about such project, he feels as if, I'm not sounding too pessimistic anyway, it feels as if some other things have been left behind. You know, the conflicts haven't really disappeared because farmer-herder clashes are still there. And then I don't know what, measures you've taken in order to address this in the coming years, since we're just starting at that level. But nonetheless, what message do you have? What message really do you have to the people of Nasarawa and indeed Nigerians on this very issue for National Livestock Transformation Plan as it got started in your state?
Well, we have to be optimistic. We are very optimistic that this is a well thought out program. I must thank His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for creating an enabling environment, and His Excellency the Vice President as the Chairman of the National Economic Council and other members of the National Economic Council, because this is a well thought out program, and with all the timelines that are there, it's something that we need as a country, and because we must move with time, we must move with other parts of the world, we must imbibe international best practices, and I think this is one of those. And for the people of Nasarawa State, I thank them for all the support they've given the government and this program. And we should continue to support the program because it is a win-win for everybody. For the farmers, for the herders, it's a win-win for all of us. And it's something that will take us to the next level. It's something that if we're serious, and I see my people are very serious about it, is also going to improve the economy of the people and the economy of the state in general, and to be a hub for investors to come in. You can imagine if we have the best abattoir in Nasarawa State, the best dairy factory in Nasarawa State, the best hide and skin factory in Nasarawa State, you can imagine how the economy of Nasarawa State will boom. So it's something that we must all support totally, and at the end of the day, we shall be happier for it.
Okay, thank you. Briefly, in 30 seconds, Dr. Kwasari, please tell us, at the end of 10 years, what do you expect to see? In 30 seconds, please.
Honestly, at the end of 10 years, what I hope for Nigeria on this program is to see that we have achieved at least 50% transformation of the cattle heads we have, I mean, in terms of methodology. So imagine if we can ranch 10 million heads of cattle, and the ranching methodology is the one prescribed in the National Livestock Transformation. That is zero carbon neutral farming, integrating crops, livestock, pasture trees together such that the environment is good for it, the livestock sector is good for it. The income for the pastoralists is good for it. The states that host them, good for it. The private sector that come to participate, good for it. Everything we need to do is just to create the enabling environment to have a handshake between public spending and private sector spending to actualize the potential of our livestock subsector.
Dr. Andrew Kosari, Coordinator of National Livestock Transformation Plan and Senior Special Assistant to the President on Agriculture. Thank you so much for being part of the program. Dr. Emmanuel Agbadu Akabe, Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, it's a pleasure having you come on the program to share your insight into the plan. Dr. Saleh Momole, Technical Advisor to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and National Rural Development, thank you for your input.
Thank you very much.
And Super Eagles forward Henry Onyekuru in contention to make Olympiacos debut in Champions League qualifier against Ludo Gogrets. And in tennis, Rafael Nadal out of top 3 in latest ATP rankings. Sports update.
Henry Onyekuru could make his competitive debut for Olympiacos in Tuesday's UEFA Champions League third qualifying round fixture against Bulgarian outfit Ludogorets. The Super Eagles winger was selected in the travelling squad to Bulgaria following the conclusion of training at Rennes Training Centre on Monday. Olympiacos forced Ludogorets to a 1-1 draw in the first leg. Though Onyekuru's transfer was completed before the match, he couldn't help his team as the match was too soon for him. Should the former Monaco man play his first game for the Legends, he will be wearing the number 7 jersey. Meanwhile, Barcelona striker Sergio Aguero will be out for 10 weeks because of a right calf injury, said the La Liga club. In a statement, Barca said tests on the Argentine forward have confirmed a tender injury. Aguero, 33, joined Barcelona from Manchester City on a 2-year contract in June. And in tennis, Rafael Nadal slipped out of the top 3 in the new ATP rankings released on Monday, while Jannik Sinner, who won the Washington tournament at the weekend, jumped 9 places to 15. The 20-time Grand Slam winner Nadal lost to Leod Harris in the round of 16 in Washington to find himself dropping 1 place to number 4, with the Greek Stefanos Tsitsipas replacing him at 3. Novak Djokovic, who won all 3 majors this year and has his eyes firmly set on completing the sweep with another success at the US Open, remains comfortably at number 1.
And that was Good Morning Nigeria for today. Join us again tomorrow for another edition. I am Yusuf Nadabusman.
And I am Juma Yusuf. Do have a great day. And don't forget to join us in the fight against rape and rapists.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
We've been trying our best to contain the situation. In our operations, we've been able to make a lot of recoveries. We've been able to also arrest suspects that are involved in this kind of activities. And we've been able to also recover particularly arms and ammunition from those who are carrying it unlawfully and disturbing the peace of the people. But generally, our morale in the Nigerian police is always guided by our commitment to do what we have sworn to do. Peace and security must be looked into as a priority by all, to look at security as the business of all of us.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
This is the network service of the NTA.